Hi YouTube. So last time I did a video had to do with me reviewing what I grew and what worked, what didn't work in the spring of 2020. And today I want to talk about the summer of 2020 on my patio in the garden, the container garden, and what worked and what didn't work. Now, this summer I had over, looks like 20 some odd sizable containers. And that's not even including like the grow bags that I had or the like, excuse me, 6 and 4 inch containers that I had, like little things growing in. That's not including that. We're talking about like the sizable planters that I had, like tomatoes in or peppers in or whatever. I had over 20 of those. So I did pretty good as far as production for the small amount of space that I have. And you guys know my patio is ridiculously small. But I have found a way to make it enjoyable and to do my gardening and to be successful at it. So if you have the same situation, you definitely can do it, honey. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So let's talk about first what my best producers were for this summer. I have down that my tomatoes, my herbs, my peppers, my cukes, sunflowers, choy, zinnia, Chinese spinach, and coleus all did very well for me this summer. And then my worst summer producers were my potatoes, my beans, and my bunching onions. And so I'm going to break down. Tomatoes. I did a cherry tomato, several cherry tomatoes, because I also grew some in the house, but I did grow some outside during the summer. I did cherry tomatoes. I did pear type tomatoes. I did micro tomatoes. And then I did a beefsteak tomato. I wanted to do the aroma, and I thought I had seeds for aroma, but they were not aroma seeds. All of them did fairly well, considering. So I don't have any complaints outside of, as far as tomatoes go, in the future, I will not grow Barry's Crazy Cherry and the yellow pear at the same time. They were similar in taste, and I think I prefer the Barry's Crazy Cherry over the yellow pear. I didn't think either was bad. Okay, let's get that straight. But I would just plant one or the other because they were too similar. Herbs. All of my herbs did good, and they did good in the spring. They did good in the summer. No complaints. Herbs are fantastic, and that I was able to grow so many. I actually was learning more to cook with fresh herbs, which I don't normally do. Well, didn't normally do. Now I'm getting a lot better at it. Let's see, peppers. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pepper plants, and 2 of them didn't produce any food for me at all. They grew, but they didn't produce any fruit, and that's okay because I had 5 plants. I did manage to get some peppers throughout the summer, but not a lot. The bulk of my peppers came at the end of the season when they had all turned like a ripe red, and they were so sweet and perfect and wonderful. And that was, I did the Quadrato Rosso. I'm not even going to try to say that, but I got those seeds from Baker Creek, and those produced first. But they were just like average sized peppers, and I only got a couple in the beginning. I didn't let them ripen, and then I got a couple more at the end that didn't make it to a ripening stage, but they were very good. However, I also planted some seeds that I had saved, I believe from, like 2013, I want to say, of some bell peppers, and that plant struggled. It did a little bit in the beginning of the summer, and then out of nowhere towards the end, it just started cranking them out. By the end there, I think in the last month or two, I had harvested, I don't know, 40 peppers off that one plant, that one. And those were seeds that I saved myself back in 2013. Here we are in 2020. They still germinated, and they gave me a lot more than even the newer seeds that I bought from Baker Creek. So definitely using those again, and we'll be planting those again. But yes, peppers did really good for me. Cukes. Cukes did really good for me, and I bought a variety that's new to me. It was called green apple cucumbers, and I had gotten the seeds from Baker Creek's website. I had ordered it because I thought what I had read said that the vine doesn't get much longer than 3 feet. Well, so I put it in my planter. I put a tomato cage in there, one of the big, large ones, thinking that was going to be enough. It wasn't enough at all. I ended up having to trim it all summer just to keep it contained because, again, I got that small patio, and that thing was getting out of control real quick. So, but it did give me a lot of delicious, like, apple, like, cucumbers, right? So I was just pulling them off the plant, kind of scraping off all the little pokey, spiny things, and then eating them like an apple. They were that good. They were wonderful. I didn't have not a one bitter one. So definitely recommend that variety if you want to do cucumbers. Sunflowers. So I did 3 types of sunflowers. One did not work. The other, my mom sent me some sunflower seeds from some kind of group. I forget. If I can find the paperwork on it, I will post the information in the description box. But they were like a big mammoth sunflower. So I had some of those, and 4 of them actually wound up making it to maturity and looking so beautiful and wonderful and yellow and perfect for me and the pollinators, because they loved it too. And then I did another variety, and I got the seeds from Baker Creek, surprise, and it was called the teddy bear sunflowers. And I had gotten those because they had said that it doesn't get any bigger than like 12 inches, I think it was. So I thought, I'll just grow these in my aerial garden. Well, first of all, what I didn't know was that sunflowers have insane, like big root systems. So it turns out I was not going to be able to grow those in there anyway because the root systems were too big for the units. And then the other thing was they outgrew the unit. So not just underneath in the water reservoir, but also above. So I ended up taking them out and transplanting them outside, and they all did fantastic. They were so beautiful, you guys. Oh my gosh. I think whenever they were flowering, I was having a real hard time because I wanted them there, when I got home from work. But I also wanted to cut some and take them in the house and cut some and take them to work. And I didn't wind up cutting too many. I did cut a few, and I mostly left them growing at the house so that I could just see them whenever I left my house or came home or something. But they were wonderful. Definitely doing sunflowers again. And in fact, I bought some more seeds for sunflowers. These ones I think I want to say from Burpee, maybe. But they are for a Mexican sunflower. And so these are smaller, much smaller, a lot less petals, but they kind of remind me of a daisy. And they're like a orangey red, and then they have like, the sunflower center. They're going to be so cute. I cannot wait. Let's see, choy. So choy. The choys that I had mostly were started in the spring, and then they just went through the spring and through all of the summer. So that was like, and it wasn't which ones was it? It was the purple Lady Bok Choy. So I transplanted those from the aerial gardens earlier in the year for the spring, and then I put them out. They did great, and then I just kept harvesting from them, and they kept producing more and more leaves for me. Next thing I know, it was the end of the summer and I was still eating off the same plants from the spring. So yeah, Choy was a good one for me. Zinnias. Now, I wasn't sure how my zinnias were going to do because I had decided to try to intercrop my zinnias. So I grew basil, zinnias, and tomatoes together in my containers this year. And I wasn't sure it was going to work. I didn't know nothing about their root systems, anything like that. Long story short, it worked out great. I was swimming in zinnias and I was making beautiful arrangements for my office and for my home for the whole summer. I do know that next year I want to do more of them, and I actually thinking about maybe doing them separate. The only reason I say that is because the zinnias wound up getting so tall. And with tomatoes already being tall, it was hard to navigate between the two. If I were growing them in the ground, it might have been a different situation. It might have not been as complicated, but growing them in those 17-gallon containers and then having them raised, they were already kind of too high for me. And then once the end of the summer came, like I had to seriously stand on something to harvest tomatoes and to cut the zinnias. So I'm gonna try to figure out how I can bring the zinnias down, and I just want more of them because they were great. They went into the fall and they produced like crazy. You cut one off, two come back. I mean, zinnias, and they're gorgeous. So definitely did good with those. The other thing I did good with is the Chinese spinach, and I think it's under the category of an amaranth. It's the green and red leaves, very, very pretty. It's a mild tasting leaf, much like, a spinach is. But I planted it wrong. Now, I did get a lot off of them, but I did plant them wrong. I planted one seed here and one seed there. And they came up and the plants were sizable. However, I, I made a note that in the future I would probably sow the seeds a little bit thicker and then thin them out and have more plants than I did have, because I wasn't harvesting from them like every other day. I was probably harvesting from them every other week. But if I had more plants, I would have been able to harvest more frequently, obviously. So it was a good grower. It wasn't like demanding. It didn't get any pest pressure at all, like zero. There was nothing on those plants. They were perfect the entire time. So definitely want to do that again. And then, they also lasted until the fall. So, but I didn't start those in the spring. So they did summer, fall, and which was still good. And then the last thing that did really good for me was my Coleus. And the Coleus I had started indoors in one of my aerial gardens. I think it was from an actual aerial garden pod. And I had specifically bought it because I knew I wanted to transplant it outside. But my plan was to keep the mother, like the main plant, in the house, in the aerial garden, and then just, propagate, because Coleus, if you haven't done it before, is like insanely easy to propagate. Well, wouldn't you know, the Coleus started outgrowing my aerial garden. I don't know what I was doing that they got so much bigger than they were supposed to. So I ended up having to take the whole plant out. And I wasn't even sure how that was going to work, because I ended up having to cut the root system quite a bit in order to even get it out of the machine. And then I planted it. It looked a little sad for a couple of days, and then it picked up. It looked healthy, but it wasn't growing. And that was for about a good 2 months. And then after that 2 months, it just cut on like gangbusters. Next thing I know, it's the end of the summer, and that thing is about 3 feet tall. It was gorgeous, gorgeous. And I had it in this probably an 8-inch terracotta pot. Like, what? It was awesome. It was awesome. But then, in the end, once I pulled it, I did realize that it was fairly root bound. So I think either Coleuses don't mind being packed up like that, or next time I'm going to have to look and see if if it would have gotten bigger, if I would have gave it a more appropriate container. I don't know. but I'm definitely growing those again. And in fact, I've been looking for seeds. Can't find any anywhere. No seeds for Coleus. Like, what is going on? Food I get, right? Because it's 2020 and there's been so much uncertainty going on. And, I understand people feeling the need to go and maybe see if they can grow some of their own food, especially with the insecurity, the food insecurity that's going on. And in fact, as I talk to you, I'm watching the pull-up line for the Akron Food Bank. Today is food delivery day. Not surprising as long as we're talking about vegetables. But Coleus, you can't eat a Coleus. Why are people buying up all the Coleus seeds? I want the colorful Coleuses, okay? So I have that in my Google search or whatever, so that if some pop up on the websites that I visit, I'll get a notification and I'm jumping on them bad boys, okay? I can't wait though, because I really want to try. They have a lime green one. My mom gets it every year. And I don't know if that's just like specific to Santa Fe where she's from, but I've never seen it. She sent me pictures, yes, but I've never seen it. So I wanted to get some seeds for that. So I'm going to stay on the lookout for that. But so yeah, that was, my summer garden was fantastic this year. I cannot complain. I did so good. I used compost. I used bone meal. I used fish emulsion. I was moving things around. I was watching like where the sun was. I mean, I was fairly attentive this year, and it paid off. So let's talk about what my worst. Sorry, just checking my watch here. Talk about what I have a 2:30 appointment. Anyways, talk about what my worst producers were. So, I only had 3. The first being potatoes. Now, I'm not blaming the potatoes. It could have been me. The potatoes that I used were not store-bought slips, or they weren't bought from a nursery or anything. They were just potatoes that I had that started sprouting in my pantry. They were old, and then I cut them up into, so I had one eye on each, and then I let them dry out and then planted them. That's all I did. So it could be that I used non-organic potatoes that had just gone old in my pantry. The other thing is that the plant died too soon, and I couldn't figure out what kind of bug it was. The bug was definitely there, and it was attacking the stems and consequently affecting the leaves. But if you don't have any foliage, the potatoes can't grow because the actual potatoes can't do the photosynthesis with them being under the dirt. So my plants ended up dying too soon. I had really small potatoes, and I mean, in the end, it came out to be enough for one serving, and they were good. They were fine. But I don't know, and I might have put too many pieces in there. I started out with 3 potatoes, but I ended up with, I think, close to 20 pieces of potato, if you know what I mean. And I put them all in that 117-gallon bucket. Maybe that was a bad idea. Maybe I put too many potatoes in there. I don't know. But it just didn't work out. And I had told myself, I'm not doing this with potatoes no more because I always have the same result. I just get small potatoes that don't make it. They end up being killed before they make it their, 120 days or whatever it is. So, but then recently I got a hold of some potato seeds, and I mean like as in within like the past week. So turns out I was wrong. I'm going to be planting potatoes again. Only this time I'm going to be trying it from seed. So wish me luck. But that's in the spring coming. And this coming spring I'll do that. Second worst producer were my beans. Now, that again, it's not the plant's fault. That was my fault. And the only thing I did wrong was that I've never grown beans before, so I had no idea how many to plant. So I planted, 2 or 3 here and 2 or 3 there. Great. But when you're doing a bush variety and only doing 2 or 3 plants, you don't get enough for a full serving, right? So I wound up just usually eating them right there in the garden, or throwing them on top of a salad. I never had like a substantial amount, and that's where I failed. That's where I failed with my beans. So next time around, I will be planting a hell of a lot more beans, right? And I think I'll stick with the what's it called? Dragon's tongue variety. Those were really good when, well, actually, they were good either way. You know, I ended up picking them early just to see, and they were good. And then I picked them a little later, and they were still good to me. So I could eat those at any stage and be happy with them. And they're not super beany. Like, I know what you're thinking. Well, beans taste like beans, bro. I get that. But some beans are like crazy beany, and I don't care for crazy beany beans. This is turning into a tongue twister. But I don't like it. And so I do want to tell you that dragon tongue beans aren't very beany, whatever that means. And then the last thing that did fairly bad for me was the bunching onions. Now, I'm going to take the blame for that as well. I didn't know how to plant bunching onions. I just threw some seeds out there in this tiny, tiny, tiny container, and they sprouted just like that, and that was fantastic. But then after that, I mean, it took, I want to say, a good 4, maybe even longer months to get mediocre at best bunching onions. I had put so much time into that. Right now I'm sitting here thinking, and I still have all those seeds. I'm not going to waste my time putting those in containers anymore. I'm just going to throw them on the dirt. And if they take off, they take off. If they don't, then they don't. Because I just don't want the seeds to go to waste. But definitely not spending another second with bunching onions, taking up valuable spaces in one of my containers. It's just not worth it for me. I'm not good enough at it, and truthfully, I don't have the inclination to even look up what I did wrong, how to do it, or whatever. I'm just not that concerned about it. I'm actually more interested in trying to grow bulb onions. It's a little soon. I'm not going to do it this year because I know it's a process, but that's what I'm looking forward to. And I have plenty of chives right now and all that. So I don't need to even mess around with bunching onions anymore. Like I said, I'm going to use up the seeds that I have in the dirt. But then after that, I'm done with bunching onions until, I take the time to learn about it and how to, make them successful. So anyway, so that is it. That was my summer review, my little summer breakdown. I've already started planning next summer. And I think my next video is when I'm going to come in, because we just had our first hard freeze and significant amount of snow. I think we got like 3 inches. Which isn't a lot, like, for me, but like the vegetables, and especially the ones that I had in the container garden, they were babies. I didn't start my plants soon enough, so I lost basically a lot. But I still got a couple things out there. The thyme is still going. Yay! And so is dill. Yay! And my choys are going, well, my mature choys are doing good. I don't know how the other ones are doing. I'm hoping that it's going to get warm enough for the snow to melt, like in the next couple days or so, and especially because I have tomorrow off and then it's the weekend. So I have a few days off. I hope that, I get to see what happened with my veggies, because at this point there's so much snow on them I can't even see them. I'm not too hopeful, okay? I already know. But anyways, we'll talk about that at a later date. Like I said, I'm gonna want to eventually do a video reviewing my fall vegetables, and this is, again, I don't think I mentioned this, but this is Akron, Ohio, in zone 6B. So if that helps anybody with anything. And I think that does it for now. I have started my list for that fall video, so it shouldn't be too far off here. Maybe a week, maybe two, maybe three. I don't know. I don't know. But I know that it is coming, and I have taken my notes and I've already done my research. So I'm ready to do the video. But until then, hope you guys are having a great day, a great life, and keep growing. Later, Gators.